But we're going to begin with the breaking news overnight, an unannounced trip by President Biden to Kyiv, his first since the Russian invasion. And he met with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy. It comes at a critical moment in the war against Russia, and the president renewed his pledge of American support.
Remind us that freedom is priceless. It's worth fighting for as long as it takes. And that's how long we're going to be with you, Mr. President, for as long as it takes.
We'll do it.
Thank you.
For as long as it takes, he says. We've got Nancy Cordes with us from Warsaw, and Charlie D'Agata is in Kyiv. We're going to start with Charlie, who was there when the presidents met. Charlie, the air raid sirens were going off at one point. It's a remarkable thing to see an American president walking through a war zone like that. Good morning.
It was, Tony. Good morning to you. It was a visit shrouded in secrecy, to say the least. President Biden's been here many times before, but this is the first time since the war began. And even as he walked with President Zelenskyy in front of the cathedral behind me, those air raid sirens rang out, adding to the urgency of the proceedings. Now, the president was wearing a blue and yellow tie in a show of solidarity. He arrived at the presidential palace this morning and met with the Ukrainian president, where he spoke briefly about his purpose here. He said to mark the anniversary of the invasion and to discuss further detail on the situation on the ground. The two men then broke off for a one-on-one meeting. That lasted roughly 2 hours. We then gathered for the press conference at the presidential palace, where the president recalled a phone call that he had with President Zelenskyy on the very morning of the invasion, where President Zelenskyy described hearing the explosions in the background.
1 year later, Kyiv stands, and Ukraine stands. Democracy stands.
Now, President Biden announced a military aid package worth around $500 million, largely more ammunition for the HIMARS and other weapon systems that are already in use here. He said he'd be sharing the details in the coming days. President Zelenskyy called the arms package an unequivocal signal that Russia's attempt to win has no chance. After visiting St. Michael's Cathedral here, the two men stopped briefly to honor the war dead nearby. The president then made his way to the U.S. Embassy to meet with staff there. This visit was as much about a show of support to the people of Ukraine as it was sending a message to President Putin and Russia. As President Biden put it, he thought he could outlast us. He was wrong. Nate?
Strong words. Charlie D'Agata in Kyiv, thank you.